Hello, and welcome to the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation's annual report to the community for 2020. This is our second virtual meeting, and I am Susan Shumate, the board chair. I would like to introduce and thank our board members, Bob Orders, who is the vice chair, Todd Mount, our past chair, Ted Armbrecht, Will Carter, Georgette George, Dickinson Gould, Charlie Loeb, Sean Mayberry, Deborah Sullivan, and our two newest board members are Deborah Sink and Dale Klauser. Debbie and Dale are replacing Monica Jansen and Sandy Thomas, who concluded their board terms in 2020. Their expertise and dedication will be missed. Monica chaired the distributions task group, and Sandy's audit and financial expertise will be missed. The Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation was founded in 1962 to address challenges in a 6-county area. In 2020, our community, as with communities nationwide, faced pandemic challenges we had not experienced previously. On behalf of the board, I would like to thank our donors. Their generosity and forethought helped many organizations through this crisis. One anonymous donor who normally directs funds to basic needs realized the arts would have a great deal of need and directed funds to some of these organizations. Again, we would like to thank our donors. The Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation finished 2020 with $304.7 million in assets. Our finance committee, led by Bob Orders, has done an extraordinary job. 2020 was the first year the trust conversion was complete. This was able to save the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation $375,000 in bank management fees, which has been able to be distributed back to the community. We would like to thank the Finance Committee, our lawyer Melody Simpson and her team from Bowles Rice, Kristen Mounts, and our banking partners for making these savings possible. In 2020, we moved into this wonderful new facility, 178 Summer Street. Our lease on the new space began October 1st. The build-out process was smooth and on time. Lewis Payne and DuPont Hotel LLC made this a wonderful transition for us. The Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation chose this space downtown to be part of the community, to be seen and to see what was going on in our streets. Community is a founding block of the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation. We are a community foundation. We help to build and strengthen communities by fostering partnerships. That is the heart of our discretionary grant process. Helping to connect organizations that benefit one another is a key to building these stronger communities. The Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation hosted the Summit on Race, which focused on race in Appalachia and many of the obstacles faced in housing, employment, and education by minorities. All of the success of the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation is due to the many volunteers, our wonderful staff, and our generous donors. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce Michelle Foster, the president and CEO of the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation. Thank you for doing such a wonderful job in such a difficult year, Michelle.
Greetings, everyone. I am Michelle Foster, President and CEO of the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation here in Charleston, West Virginia. I pray that you and your family are safe and healthy and vaccinated as we slowly emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic. As we face the future with hope, which is our theme for this year, we look forward to being with you live and in person next year. So hang in with us for one last virtual time. This is annual report to the community number 6 for me. Time is just flying by. And I still believe I have the most fulfilling, the most fun career in town. as I lead this illustrious organization that ranks among the top 100 community foundations nationally. We are not only the largest community foundation in West Virginia, we're also the largest community foundation in Central Appalachia. I don't do it alone. I stand before you representing a dynamic team of professionals who give of their all to make our foundation what it is today. They are our CFO, Kristen Mounts, our controllers, and I should be reading it because I know I'm going, Christine Spalding, our senior program officer, Stephanie Heyer. She handles the arts and culture and education portfolios. Megan Simpson, our health program officer. Todd Dorcas, who handles our community economic development portfolio. Susan Hoover on scholarships. Derek Vance, basic needs and special initiatives. Candace Skrell, our grants manager. Angela Dobson, accountant. Sarah Furrow, admin assistant. Jane Powell, our communications director, was the main person putting this event together. Thank you so much for all that you do, for keeping our foundation operating efficiently and effectively, even through a pandemic and a huge move of offices. I really appreciate your service, and it's a pleasure working with you as we support our donors and our nonprofit partners. Thank you so much. There's another team of professionals who work behind the scenes of the foundation, day in and day out, providing us with support. They include our legal counsel from Bowles Rice, Melody and Emily, Melody Simpson and Emily Lambright. Our investment advisory team, led by Greg DeSisto of Prime Buckholz. Impact, measurement, and evaluation with the Midwest Evaluation Team. Our IT guy, Dan Ameli, website and video production, the guys in the back of the room right now, Cucumber and Company, photography, Will Price, film production, Jason Adams. We appreciate you for making us look good all year long. The foundation exists because there are many amazingly generous people, past and present, in our community, whose love for mankind really inspire them to give of their assets to make life better for others in our community. These are people who I believe they are facing the future with hope. So thank you to all of our donors. There are also over 100 people who volunteer with the foundation, from our 13-member board to the numerous committees, program, investment, scholarship distribution, finance, advisory, as well as our task groups who really work with the program officers in evaluating the many proposals that we look at every year, our health, education, and CED task groups. Thank you. Our foundation runs because of you. Thank you for your efforts and for your service. Please know that we appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, I've examined our foundation, all the essentials, including our assets under management, our donor base, our community investments, our systems, everything. And it is my pleasure to report that the foundation is solid. And as they say in that famous song, solid as a rock. The foundation continues to be a navigator for generous individuals, families, and businesses interested in making West Virginia an even better place to live, work, and raise a family. We received $3.6 million in contributions and distributed a record $13.5 million in grants and scholarships in 2020. And there were a few special funding streams. We distributed $1.3 million towards COVID relief through 52 grants that our program officers processed in record time. Thank you again, guys. And they included special contributions, as Susan mentioned, from an anonymous donor, from the Mary Reynolds Babcock Foundation, and from Huntington Bank. Then there was this special stream of criminal justice reform projects through our partnership with the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, where we distributed $743,500 to 6 projects. And then we also are working to support small businesses and entrepreneurs. So our Advancing Entrepreneurship program, we awarded 2 grants, over $72,000 to help them in these efforts. Thank you. So it's all about partnership. We encourage our grantee partners to partner with each other, to collaborate with each other, and we do so ourselves. Additionally, as a collaborative partner on the Creative Community Connections in Charleston project, we facilitated the hiring of Brian Cooper, Creativity Connector. Almost 4 years of convening partners from government, private sector, artists from everywhere, from meetings with Asheville Arts Council representatives, even a tour of the Asheville art scene. It all culminated in us hiring Brian in April of 2020 and officially launching the project in August. It was important to have someone who was laser focused on the project, and we have that person in Brian. This Community Connections project is based on the premise that through community economic development strategies that include arts organizations and individual artists, whether there be visual, performing, culinary, literary artists, we can revitalize public spaces, enhance what local businesses offer, and bring diverse groups of people together to enable better outcomes for our city. We now have the opportunity to integrate arts in every community development activity that we do, strengthening neighborhoods, attracting new residents, and supporting the artists who are right here and doing great work. Special thanks to our partners in this effort, who include the Benedum Foundation, the Truist Foundation, Glautfelte Foundation, Mayor, the Carter Family Fund, the Worley Foundations, and the many donors who are making this initiative possible. I encourage you to refer to the website, getcreativewv.com, to learn more about this exciting initiative. We continue to offer a robust scholarship program to students statewide, investing directly into the lives of 370 West Virginia students, giving out over $830,000 in scholarships. We also continue the Bridge of Hope Fund, which provides scholarships to people who are in recovery from substance use disorder. And that scholarship program was launched by Fruth Pharmacy. So we awarded 19 scholarships there, and when the fund first started, we only awarded 5, so that shows you the growth there as well. At the end of 2020, we had over $304 million in assets, the highest we've ever been, distributed among 542 funds. To those of you who made financial contributions during last year, thank you for caring enough to invest in your community through your community foundation. To those of you who received grant awards, it is our pleasure to partner with you for positive community impact. Please refer to the Tgkvf by the numbers report that will be on our website by the end of May, and the annual report book that should be in your mailboxes by that time as well. In 2020, our country faced more than a public health pandemic. We also faced a racial justice epidemic. The callous killing of George Floyd struck a nerve deep within me. George could have been a family member or a friend. The days following May 25th were difficult ones for me. I bravely smiled through many Zoom meetings and moved the business of the foundation forward. But it was a rough time for me. I felt isolated and vulnerable. as I dealt with this pandemic, this virus that was killing more people who looked like me. As I sought to understand why this was happening, I was confronted with this racial justice epidemic. I froze every time I tried to write a statement about about the foundation stands. I was receiving all these wonderfully, eloquently written statements in my inbox daily. Eventually, I remember that in 2014, the foundation had supported the Summit on Race Matters. So I figured out who was involved, and I called on Ted Bettner, Reverend English, Reverend Patterson, and Lyda Shepherd. And they're the ones who planned the original summit. And I asked, would they work with us to make this a reality again? We had no idea how it was going to be received. But I remember sending out in June, it was Juneteenth actually, and I sent out emails to colleagues and friends that I knew, and the response was overwhelming, positively overwhelming. People were really interested in learning and trying to make a difference, and I'm excited that our foundation was able to lead such an effort. The 6-session series included 28 speakers, top-notch speakers from around the country and West Virginia. People like Professor Ibram X. Kendi, journalist Nicole Hannah-Jones, and the amazing, legendary Angela Davis. We reached 1,519 unique attendees. Many of them came for all or several of the sessions. And I had six facilitators. Misha Poor and Tom Haywood were the main ones, but we had others involved as well. And we ended up with 37 sponsors, private individuals, as well as corporate sponsors, as well as the city, the county. It was just overwhelming. And they all made it possible. Thank you so much for your support. Diane Wellman, a gifted writer, captured and masterfully compiled the notes from the summit, and we're having it all edited and made. John will make it all pretty, and we'll have it on our website. It really details everything that was stated during the summit. Although 2020 was a rough year in many respects, we are still facing the future with hope. A major source of hope for us is the impactful work performed daily, day in and day out, by our grantee partners. It is my pleasure now to present the new class of Tgkvf Change Makers.